Doug, it's already painful enough. Oh, they lost to South Carolina, and they lost, and then they were playing with fire here. Doug.
Yes.
Stop scolding me, okay? I had a tough day yesterday.
I'm not scolding you. I get scolded on Twitter because I'm still not a big buyer into the idea that the Big East was as good as they were seeded, and so the Twidiots. Like, what do you think now? You're being Big 12. Like, hey, I haven't played in the Big 12 since 2000, dude. Okay, and I also it's funny. It's like how we look back. Yes, your Iowa State pick looks like a stinker, but let's be honest. George Niang got fouled when he goes baseline, and they got a 3 to tie it. If either of those two things go the opposite way and they survive, you survive that first game when you don't play well, you don't shoot well, you look like a genius, and everybody who's scolding you now wouldn't be saying a word. So there's nothing worse than my bracket. Like, dude, come on.
Okay.
Some of you picked go ahead.
Paulie just said he roots for the upset, not his bracket. Would you call BS on that like we are?
Well, I'll tell you. Okay, so I have 4 games today, and you try. You have to be really, really cautious when you're doing the game of not getting caught up in it too, because but I do think that's what the first weekend's about. First weekend's always about the upsets, and then after that, it's about big boy basketball. Who's the best of the best.
Well, you got Buffalo, West Virginia, Valpo, Maryland, Albany, Oklahoma, and Dayton against Providence today.
Yeah.
I like the upsets, but this is about bragging rights. That's why we fill out a bracket.
Okay, so here's the thing, though. Now, you do one bracket, right?
Yeah.
Okay.
I'm a one and done.
You can do multiple brackets. That's fine, but don't ever brag to me about your bracket. You can't. That's not. No, this is my number one bracket. Okay, got it. So as long as you do one bracket. But here's the thing: if your hypothesis was right, even if the games came out the wrong way, I still feel good about myself. I just do. Like, well, look, I thought here's a possible where you really get hurt is where you pick an upset in the first round, and it doesn't come through, and then that team ends up going all the way to Elite Eight. Or in your case, if your team gets upset in the first round, like Iowa State, and you had them go into the Final Four. Now you're screwed. Now you're kind of, I mean, like if there's a lot of people who had Notre Dame going to the Final Four, and they're a possession away. If Northeastern gets a shot up, they win, and a lot of people are feeling just like you today.
Best game yesterday or last night was what?
Best game. The best. I thought the NC State LSU. God, LSU.
Make some free throws. Good
man.
God.
Between LSU and Baylor, do you see Baylor go into their Cotton Bowl offense and defense?
I know.
Man.
But you know what you saw, Doug, though? You saw yesterday teams that should not have slowed down or, that they got a lead and then they played into the opposition's hands. I thought North Carolina did that against Harvard. Like you're going, what are you doing? Baylor did that. It was really surprising that they allow these teams to get back in that way.
Two things here, Dan, as you're looking forward, okay? And I've talked to several coaches, and they all kind of say the same thing. One, can't stop running offense. I did the Boise game against Dayton. By the way, you're still big in Dayton. I can't believe they haven't hung your name from the rafters. I heard you were an awesome morning DJ. That's what they said.
Yes, I was.
They said you could spin it. It was amazing. Anyway, Boise stopped running their offense. They went into prevent mode and had 3 empty possessions. So you can't stop running offense. And threes beat you, twos don't. And if you look at all these comebacks, you can give up, you give up a layup or a putback. All right, that hurts. Okay, but and ones and especially threes, those are what really fuel comebacks more than the twos.
He's Doug Gottlieb. He's got 4 games today. He'll be in Columbus, Ohio, Buffalo, and West Virginia. You got Valpo, Maryland, Albany, Oklahoma, and the pesky Dayton Flyers against the Providence Friars. SMU, UCLA, and how it finished. Pick it up from there, the final 15 seconds. Your thoughts?
Okay, so Bryce Alford gets an offensive rebound, dribbles out, and shoots an air ball. I mean, and the rule is it had to have had a chance to go in.
Yeah.
Do you think that had a chance to go in?
No, but it had a chance to catch rim. And you should never put your hand up there. There's no reason to put your hand up there anyway. If you box out, you're taught to box out, not go get the ball up there and put your hand anywhere near the cylinder. He forced the call.
I felt bad. I felt bad, and the kid apologized on Twitter. He didn't have anything to apologize for. He's just trying to make a play. I mean, if it's an air ball and you don't get it and it hits the floor and UCLA gets it, then what happens?
No, you box out, Doug. Look, I felt terrible for the kid, but you can't put your hand up there. I thought he forced the call. And is it the wrong call? Absolutely. But he put his hand up there, and he helped the official out there.
I didn't think he helped the official out. I thought it was a bad. I thought the official. Here's one of the big problems, and I know they're going to go back and fix it eventually.
Well, he wasn't in position to make the call.
Well, no, because
he was out 35 feet.
That's the guy whose call it is.
Yes.
The problem with it is we can review all these other things. We can review who the ball goes off. We can't review that call. Now, I don't know if they would have overturned it upon review. I would have, because I thought there was, from the right angle, there was pretty indisputable evidence that it wasn't close to going in. But the idea that they can't review it when it shouldn't really be a judgment call. That I think is flawed, and they have to. But here's the other thing, and people get caught up in this. On the Selection Sunday, we talked last week. I didn't think UCLA belonged in the field because they didn't beat enough good teams, and they were 2-8 in true road games.
Yep.
But I also picked them to beat SMU. Now I don't feel like some sort of champion because they got a lucky call on an air ball. But the idea that a team doesn't belong in, and then they win, and that proves people wrong.
It doesn't validate. Yeah, you're right. No. It doesn't. But let me ask you this. If we were going to look at this rule, why can't an official in the last 2 minutes of a tournament game, if you just want to make a tournament, has the right to review any call he chooses to review?
I don't know. Well, I don't know. That's a good. I asked John.
There's already
Adams,
enough timeouts, Doug. That
I understand.
Right?
Well, listen. John Adams is the coordinator of officials, and he's retiring this year. But he's been outstanding with us, and he will tell you. He will say, look, the reason the replays take so long is we want to end the game right. We're not concerned with you waiting at home. We want to make sure we get it as right as possible. But to this point, that change hasn't been broached in terms of. In terms of reviewing there, you can't review if a timeout is called, guys laying on the floor, if a timeout's called when the ball's stolen. That happened actually in the Boise-Dayton game. Those things you can't review. So it's, they have this in the NFL. Some things you can review, some things you can't.
Would they have reviewed that if given the opportunity? If I said you have total autonomy in the final 2 minutes, would they have reviewed that?
Yes. I don't know if they would have overturned it because the overturning rule, it has to be indisputable.
Yeah.
And so, and kind of the other rule of thumb is, like, if you look at it for 6 or 7 minutes and you can't decide, then by definition it's not indisputable and you can't overturn. You go with the on-court ruling.
All right.
So they would have reviewed that for sure.
Give me your upset special today.
Man, I walked in thinking Buffalo was going to beat West Virginia, and then you watch West Virginia's guys and you just look at the size of those guys. Yeesh.
It always. If Hurley was playing for Buffalo, then maybe. But when too many people jump on the bandwagon and go, "Yep, this one's good," they're gonna pull off the surprise. Then I start to think, do they know how good Huggins is? I mean, whatever it is,
now
team.
Huggins hasn't. They haven't won a postseason. They've lost like 7 straight postseason games. Big 12, and NIT, NCAA. I mean, they're on a bit of a streak. You know what? Keep an eye on UC Irvine against Louisville. Louisville without Chris Jones the rest of the year. I don't know if they can shoot well enough. They haven't. UC Irvine hasn't been as consistent. I think the upsets today. I mean, obviously you're thinking in my bracket, but listen, this Dayton team. When the yellow light goes on in your car, in your Ferrari, Dan, when you're rolling around Connecticut. When the yellow light goes on, how many gallons do you think you have in your tank? 5. When the yellow light goes on?
Well, my Ferrari has a special gas tank. Yeah, actually, it's my Ram truck.
I don't know how Dayton still has gas in their tank.
They only have about 8 players.
No, try 6.5. They got 6 and a walk-on.
And
Pat Hawley can make this team, and might help their bench.
Wow.
Yeah.
Let me take a break. I want to ask you 2 more questions. I want to ask you about Jim Boeheim yesterday, and I also want to ask you about what Larry Brown said about Kentucky. Jim Boeheim's press conference yesterday. Anything stand out? You more in or out?
The most Jim Boeheim thing ever.
Oh, yeah.
Completely and totally defiant.
Yeah.
I mean, here's the thing, and people think I got something out for Boeheim. It couldn't be anything further from the truth. You know me, Dan. I just try and call it like I see it. Just the idea that the NCAA did an investigation and they were maybe too thorough in terms of how long it took. Fine, whatever. I'd rather err on the side of being too thorough, than vice versa. But there was no accountability, not one single ounce of accountability. And I think that he believes that the entire investigation and the ruling and the penalties were simply to tweak him because he's been so defiant towards the NCAA. And that was simply to make a statement that, in defiance towards the NCAA. And I think that's wrong. Like, look, at some point, the buck's got to stop with you. I get that Darryl Gross, he made two bad football hires, and he had one good football hire. And, when there's academic improprieties, somebody's got to go. And he took the fall. But your director of basketball ops is changing people's papers, and there wasn't one, hey, you know what? Some of this is on me. None of it's on you? Come on, man.
The problem I had was the Fab Melo situation, because I thought that could have been a microcosm here of the issues at Syracuse. This kid is ruled ineligible. Jim reportedly says, "Hey, if that guy's not playing, then we're on a plane heading back home." What do you think people are going to do? And then all of a sudden you're ruled eligible a day later and ready to play. You have to know something is up there, right?
Of course. Well, it's the same thing with the marijuana policy. Like, look, I'm not going to be the marijuana police and tell you what you should and shouldn't have. But when you have a policy and a guy's supposed to be suspended or there's supposed to be notifications, and you simply override it because you think it's what's in the best interest of the kid or the player, like, why have the policy? You can't. It's not the way the world works. But you're exactly right, Dan. It's a microcosm.
Would you get a new coach at Syracuse? Is that best right now?
You have a new coach. You have Mike Hopkins sitting there. No. I mean, look, but just the idea that, hey, we'll retire when we want to retire, and I got a 3-year plan, and that's when we're going to get past this thing, and are they going to celebrate 900 wins again? Are we going to do the whole? Yes. We already have the banners. We already have the plaque. I mean,
party favors. Yeah, sure. Got the invitations.
I just think that, what's going to happen is 10 years, 15 years from now, unfortunately, this is what's going to be the lasting taste of Jim Boeheim, is these acts of defiance after these, a series of bizarre, from the Bernie Fine story to this story, instead of paying attention to how many wins they've had, how many times they filled up the dome, all the great history of the Big East. Honestly, I truly believe he should have walked away after the Final Four. Was that in Atlanta? But here's Eddie Sutton should have walked away out of the Final Four in 2000, but they never do.
Tough to do, Doug. Tough to do it when you get that close. You don't want to walk away when you lose in the first round, and you can't. Coach K's not going to walk away if they win it all.
Why not?
He's not going to.
But why not? Enjoy your kids, man. Enjoy your grandkids.
Because he feels like, hey, I can do it again.
Okay, so what? You did it plenty.
All right.
Hey, Dean Smith did it. John Wooden walked away when he won a championship. Walk out with your head held high. And that's the lesson here.
Larry Brown said Kentucky could make the NBA playoffs.
Come on. Stop it. Stop it.
And then he says, well, I don't want to put any undue pressure on John Calipari. No, not at all.
Stop it. Stop. Look, I've seen Kentucky. They're the good thing, the best, maybe the least told part of it is they got really good kids and they play together. Yeah. They share the basketball and they go with the hot hand. But stop, come on, man. Like look at what rookies do right now when they go to the best rookies. Look at last year's class and how like none of them. Some of them didn't even play for an entire year. So just because Karl Anthony Towns is probably the best pro prospect, I think he's a better overall prospect than Jahlil Okafor, because he helps you at both ends of the floor. Just because Willie Cauley-Stein's a freak defensively, just because, Devin Booker is Klay Thompson. Look at his jump shot, look at how he plays. That's shot. Actually his favorite. That's the comp. Yep. Okay, but Klay Thompson coming in the league wasn't Klay Thompson now. Stop it with the hyperbole. Not you. I'm talking LB.
Have fun today. If you want to give a shout out when you're calling the Dayton game to me, feel free.
I will do so. Every time there's a made jump shot out, that reminds me of when Dan Pugh hit jumpers transferred in from Michigan State. Hey, can I give a shout out to Paulie? Because Paulie he started a thing, like the snug late, the different ways to describe. The different ways to describe the adjectives for a tight game and the Twitter alert.
It's the snug alert, we like to call it.
The snug alert. Yeah. That's a thing. Who started the thing? He absolutely deserves credit. But what was the first game in which he started that thing?
Paulie?
I started giving game alerts in 2011. It was the only reason I got on Twitter initially. And the first one was, of course, the 1AA playoffs. I think the semifinal, Eastern Washington over North Dakota State. I said, turn this game on now. It's getting real snug late. And that was my second tweet.
Our snug alert.
Yep.
Snug alert. I like that. Yeah. Should be brought to you by is Paulie under the weather? What's going on there?
Hey, we play hurt here.
Well, most people pretend like they're hurt today and stay home and watch the. Me and the bird, Iron Eagle. I'll make sure I give you a shout out.
Tell Ian, he's great.
He's amazing.
Hey, it was a great listen the other night, and have fun today and tonight. We appreciate it.
Thanks, brother.
All right, Doug. That's Doug Gottlieb.